This is my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, so this episode counts off the second half of the fight between Josuke and Yoshikage Kira. And what a fight it is, because it just kind of showcases, in addition to what we've already seen, it further showcases all the things that they've learned over the past however many episodes that there's been up to this point, and just showcases all the things they've learned and and all the skills that they can use against each other, and it's a really good fight. So it starts off with Yoshikage Kira calling his quote-unquote boss, letting him know that he's going to be 15 minutes late for work because he has to discipline his child. And while his boss on the other end of the phone admits that that's a kind of a petty reason, Kosaku decides that it's important, and that he knows that it does sound petty to other people, but that he will be in immediately after, so it'll be completely fine. At which point Yoshikage remarks the fact that Kosaku was kind of groveled a lot and had a very polite personality, and wondered if he was so desperate to climb the corporate ladder that he would be so willing to just be that apologetic to everybody he met. But decides to stop worrying about it, and just decides to start looking into what exactly happened, where exactly Josuke and Hayato actually went. So he starts poking his head through the windows to try and find out where Josuke are, pointing out that they're in the house, but he doesn't really have a good line of sight for them. At which point the guy next door actually shows up and demands to know what Yoshikage is doing. And pointing out that the woman who lives there has apparently have been dealing with an underpants thief. Later revealed to possibly be the guy himself. I don't know, but he then points out that he's been monitoring her own property to make sure nobody's stealing her underwear, and also notes that Yoshikage is actually being very suspicious and doesn't trust him. And Yoshikage is also eventually gets sick of all of his needless prattling and decides to just kind of leave. But before he leaves, he actually steals a pair of panties without anybody noticing from the window, and just kind of places it on a nearby branch, which is later revealed to have been turned into a bomb. And then the guy picks it up and blows up. And although he dies happy, so I guess it worked out. Not really. Yoshikage Kira just killed the man, but at least the guy was happy when he died. Yay! But in any case, then Kasu, Josuke and Hayato in the house, they're currently trying to figure out where Yoshikage Kira is going to attack from, and also after some deliberation and after Okuyasu doesn't get up for a while, Josuke is finally convinced that his friend has indeed died, and which only furthers his resolve to beat Yoshikage Kira to a bloody pulp. So he then proceeds to have Hayato lean against the far wall so that Yoshikage can't see where he is. And then proceeds to poke his head out of the door of the room they're in to try and figure out which exit Yoshikage Kira is going to come into. But as it turns out, Kira does none of those things, because Hayato then proceeds to start fiddling with a lock of his hair, and is confused as to why it keeps falling out from behind his ear. But then suddenly, one of Killer Queen's quote-unquote air bombs flies through the wall, and is revealed to have actually slipped in through the wall via a crack somewhere. And Hayato, shortly after realizing this, tells Josuke what exactly is going on. And Josuke quickly realizes that he needs a way to actually see the air bomb since it has since gone invisible. And noticing a nearby ashtray and some cigarettes, he grabs them, throws all the ash in the ashtray around so that he can see where the air bomb is, and then uses the cigarettes to kind of light it and to provide smoke so we can still see it. And then proceeds to back out of the room, only for it to continue to follow him out of the room and up the stairs. And obviously Hayato and Josuke are completely and utterly confused, because Hayato knows that admittedly Hayato doesn't have a full grasp of how stands work, because A, he can't see them, and B, he doesn't know all the different types of stands that can exist. All he knows is that the bomb is suddenly chasing Josuke out of the room and up the stairs, and realizes that Yoshikage Kira might be able to actually see him, or at least is chasing him automatically. And which Josuke knows it probably isn't the case, since he's fought Sheer Heart Attack. He knows Sheer Heart Attack is the automatic version of the stand. And also points out that it attracts its target using heat. And that if that were the case, it would have gone after the cigarettes that Josuke had dropped. But since it's not doing that, he realizes that it's something else. And that there's obviously a puzzle that they need to figure out to actually figure out how Yoshikage Kira is tracking them from inside the house despite not having a clear line of vision. Since Hayato can see him from the window, but he doesn't really have a clear line of vision as to where Josuke actually is. So obviously, but as Josuke tries to figure out, he actually breaks a nearby vase, turns it into some glass shards, and fires one out of the window at Yoshikage Kira. Which is a technique that he learned from Jotaro, if you guys remember way back when they went to fight against the two rats that were controlling this rat stand. And Yoshikage Kira deflects it and sends it and veers it off course as Josuke is blown up by Killer Queen. Josuke survives. He falls off the balcony, but he survives. But as Yoshikage Kira reveals, Killer Queen the Killer Queen didn't quite kill him, but that he realizes one last blast will actually be able to finish him off. But as Hayato tries to drag Josuke to safety, Josuke once again reaffirms his belief that he's going to actually be able to beat Yoshikage Kira, and tells Hayato that he's dragging him in the opposite direction of where Kira is, and then reveals what his actual plan was. As we've established, Josuke's shot against Yoshikage Kira actually missed, but Josuke reveals that kind of was kind of the case, and he figured that Yoshikage Kira would block his attack, but then reveals that he can't while he can't heal his own wounds, once his blood dries, it's no longer a part of him. So in case in point, he stuck a piece of his blood onto the shard of glass and turned it into a homing shot, which long story short, attacked the blood that has since dried on Yoshikage Kira's shoulder. It's kind of started off with a desperate last-ditch attack, which did no damage, but now it's basically being used as a homing beacon for Josuke's own homing shots. So now Yoshikage Kira is kind of realizing he's been marked. Suddenly takes a quote-unquote homing bullet from Josuke and collapses to the floor. And also drops his cell phone in the process, which both Hayato and Josuke notice. And then Yoshikage Kira slips behind a pillar to take better cover. At which point he realizes that he needs to actually finish Josuke off in one fell swoop if he has any chance of actually winning. Pointing out that luck should be on his side, because all he's ever wanted to do is live peacefully like a plant. But that Josuke is currently getting in the way of that, and obviously he's not very comfortable with that. But then declares that he's always been able to pull fortune out of misfortune, and that is something that he's done basically his whole life. So he just proceeds to prepare another homing shot, which is a lot bigger and designed to finish Josuke off in one fell swoop. However, Josuke and both Hayato tells Josuke that he needs to get ready to dodge, because obviously there's another giant air bullet, but instead Josuke picks up another shard of glass and fires it at Yoshikage Kira and creates another homing shot. And while he's waiting for that one to land, he then proceeds to try and figure out the mystery behind how Yoshikage Kira is actually spying on them. And then eventually realizes what it actually is, and to drive the point home, actually starts setting Hayato's shirt on fire, which Hayato's admittedly a little confused about, but Josuke tells him not to worry about it, pointing out that he knows now how Yoshikage Kira is actually seeing them, which is to say, he isn't. As he points out that Yoshikage Kira had a cell phone, and obviously there's somebody that and obviously he would be in contact with somebody who would be able to actually spy on them, and points out that he's likely listening rather than actually seeing them. So, by that logic, there's only one person that could actually be providing Yoshikage with hints. And case in point, because the shirt is currently catching on fire, Yoshikage Kira flies out of Hayato's shirt with in his Adam Hardfather, and quickly realizes he's been caught. Josuke once Yoshihiro emerges from his hiding space, actually confiscates his phone, pointing out that this was how Yoshikage Kira was actually monitoring their position and knowing where to go and how to detonate the bombs. At which point Yoshihiro begins to panic and realizes he needs to escape before he gets attacked again. And proceeds to escape, at exact moment the air bullet finally shows up and is about to ram right into Josuke. Only for Josuke to start giving directions to Yoshikage Kira via Yoshihiro Kira's phone. And Yoshikage Kira doesn't get the ruse immediately because Josuke is using a raspy voice to pretend to be Yoshihiro. But long story short, he starts relaying directions to Yoshikage Kira to hit quote-unquote Josuke, when in actuality he's piloting a remote air bomb toward his own father. And eventually, Yoshihiro Kira is indeed blown up, and the explosion is enough to attract the attention of the other heroes who notice the explosion from where they're standing and realize something must be going on at that house. So with Koichi in the lead, they all proceed to go and investigate. But in any case, shortly after having the bomb blow up his father, and after realizing he had been tricked by Josuke, he suddenly takes another homing bullet and is badly injured because of that. And without any of his tricks, Yoshikage Kira then begins to despair, realizing that fate might have forsaken him, and realizes that he's probably in a bad position because he realizes that Josuke is probably going to try and confront him at some point. And indeed he does. Josuke then proceeds to walk out of the house, badly injured but still very much able to stand. And the two proceed to actually go into a stand battle with Josuke telling Yoshikage to pull out his killer queen, and the two do, and they quickly battle. But it quickly becomes apparent that Josuke has the upper hand because, as we've established, Yoshikage Kira is not very good at actually stand battling. The way he approaches stand battles is to use his abilities rather than use actual brute strength, which is usually how stand battles work when they're not being puzzles. But the two stands do clash, and it's clear that Yoshikage Kira is easily going to be overwhelmed. But as he's about to be defeated, Luck suddenly smiles on Yoshikage Kira because due to the fact that Stray Cat is currently with inside Killer Queen, it proceeds to think that it's being attacked and decides to defend itself with its own air bullets, which Yoshikage Kira then uses to his advantage to create another remote bomb. And then proceeds to drive it in the direction of Josuke and is about to blow him up, pointing out that it's a contact bomb and that this is going to be the end of Josuke. Only for Okuyasu to actually finally wake up out of nowhere and then proceed to use the hand to actually draw the air bomb away from his friend, and then proceeds to scrape it away with the hand, declaring that he never really did figure out where his stand voids go to, but whenever he thinks about it, he gets a headache, so he decides that to just stop focusing on it. At which point, and when Josuke and Hayato are a little confused, wondering what happened to him and why he's suddenly awake, he then proceeds to tell a story. As it turns out, Okuyasu did die, however briefly. And as he was quote unquote dead, he had a vision of his brother Keisho. And when Keicho asked him where he was going, Okuyasu simply said that he was going to follow his brother, since, as he admits out loud, his brother is very trustworthy, and obviously he would follow him to the ends of the earth, which apparently he was about to do until Keicho told him that he would actually have to find out the answer to that himself and where he actually wants to go. So at which point Okuyasu declares that he's going to go back to Morio, and then he wakes up. And he openly admits that it's a very sad dream. However, Yoshikage Kira is having heard all of this, and after seeing the tearful reunion between Josuke and Okuyasu, proceeds to panic and realizes that he's now at a disadvantage because Okuyasu's the hand is able to actually scrape away his air bullets. And then proceeds to try and create another air bullet with Stray Cat, only for Okuyasu to rip Stray Cat out of Killer Queen's abdomen and proceed to not only capture it but calm it down so that it won't attack him instinctively anymore. At which point Kira realizes that he's now at a complete disadvantage because obviously now he's lost his ability to create ranged attacks and now has to rely on contacts to actually blow people up, which he's more than intent to do, and even declares that he's not going to lose, and that he still has one last trick up his sleeve. But as it turns out, we never actually get to see what that trick was, because right at that exact moment, Koichi, Jotaro, and Rohan all show up and quickly realize what's going on, and quickly realize that Kosaku Kawajiri is actually Yoshikage Kira. So they quickly realize what the issue actually is, and Kira is actually caught in a corner, because not only have all the enemy stand users, or at least from his perspective, not only have all the heroes shown up in one place, but in addition to that, a bunch of because Yoshikage Kira blew up his father and made it look like, and it kind of looked a little bit like a gas explosion. A lot of fire officers and fire departments and fire trucks have just shown up, and now Yoshikage Kira is very much exposed. He not only are all of his enemies in one place and know who he is now, but in addition to that, he's now cornered because there's also a bunch of fire trucks everywhere. So yeah, now there's a lot of witnesses to what's going on with him. And Hayato then declares that. And then in the last scene of this episode declares that it doesn't matter how much fate actually smiles on Yoshikage Kira, since justice is stronger and it's already come for him. So yeah, this episode just kind of ends with Yoshikage Kira being cornered, and he has no real way to fight back. I mean, obviously he still can. I mean, Killer Queen is a very dangerous stand, but as we've established, not only is Yoshikage Kira kind of bad at actually fighting, but now he has five stand users he needs to fight by himself. So I don't think he's going to win that fight. I'm pretty sure this is the end of him, and that next episode we're actually going to be seeing him either getting his just desserts, as it were. So because there's not much else that he can do to actually fight back against all of his enemies without putting himself at serious risk. Obviously the trick he used to replace his own face isn't going to work again, because he killed the person who was able to do that. So now he's kind of at a disadvantage. The only thing he could really use is Bites the Dust, but it's kind of unclear as to how Bites the Dust actually works to set up a target. Since we never actually see how that actually worked with Hayato. So there's definitely a possibility there that he's not going to be able to actually escape. There's only really one real opportunity he has, and truth be told, I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work out for him. So yeah, that's my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below if you want to keep up to date with what's going on with the channel. I also post memes and stuff over there. I also like a lot of art and stuff, so if you guys want to go see that, go check that out. And also, be sure to check out my Patreon if you want to help support the show. It's only a couple bucks. It helps me out because you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that are my way of saying thanks. It's a support me and I'll support you kind of thing. So go check that out, and I will basically shout out whatever your stuff is on my website, or I'll make a video shouting it out depending on what you actually pledge. And speaking of my website, go check out some of the written reviews I've written over there. I only have the one up, but I'm trying to work on some other stuff. I'm trying to get stuff like Monster Hunter Rise to work, because I got stuck on one of the monsters and I kind of haven't been able to pick it up because I don't know what to do. But I'm trying to work on a written review for that. But yeah, go check that out if you want to. Also, be sure to support me on Twitch. I streamed Miitopia very recently, and people are actually kind of enjoying it. People are coming along, seeing my streams, and I'm kind of happy that my Twitch career is kind of taking off a little bit. It's only like a couple of people at this point, but it doesn't take very much to actually grow on Twitch. So yeah, be sure just to go support me, because every viewer helps. Every viewer that can help me grow and actually succeed on that is one step closer to me actually being able to be successful at that. So go check that out, and also be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen if you want to see more content from me. The top video is the most recent video. It may or may not be this one. Whereas the bottom video is the video recommended to you based on what you've already seen from me. So if you want to see more of what you like, or try something completely different, then be sure to check both of those videos out. But regardless of whether or not you do any or all of those things, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!